The miracle doctor won't be a kept man. My heart belongs ashore. Chapter 431. It was a spotless nurse uniform, an object of dazzling charm and temptation. It blended with Lindsay's fair skin, elevating her beauty to an unparalleled level. When she noticed Kiran's gaze, her confidence was boosted, and she sauntered up to him. Her feet were as milky as white jade. If Kiran were a pervert, he would have pounced on her. After all, this was a gorgeous woman in a bewitching outfit. However, he did not move a muscle. On the contrary, he sat on the couch and regarded Lindsay quietly as if he were watching a temptress's passionate performance. Lindsay was nervous and somewhat disappointed. She was a goddess of mature charm in the eyes of countless men, but clearly Kiran did not share that sentiment. The number of men who had pursued her in the past exceeded hundreds, if not thousands, and only God knew how many had had their legs broken just to seek her hand in marriage. Never had she imagined that she would be reduced to such a humble state before Kiran. She refused to accept it. Nevertheless, she was even more determined to become Kiran's woman. Since she was already dressed in such a manner, she had nothing to be afraid of anymore. She approached Kiran slowly and dropped to her knees with a thud. "Master!" To her dismay, he was unmoved. Inside the inner room, snow wrapped the blankets around her, goosebumps breaking out over her body from chills. To be precise, she was disgusted. No one would have imagined that the high and mighty Lindsay would stoop so low in front of Kiran. Kiran remained unmoved, which embittered Lindsay. Right now, she considered herself the finest lady of the night, a woman of distinguished status in a slinky outfit and offering maid service. Wasn't this every man's ultimate fantasy? Surely Kiran was putting on an act. With that thought in mind, she moved nearer to him on her knees. He stopped her with a raise of his hand. He lifted her beautiful chin. "Your master doesn't like you now." Lindsay was crestfallen, but instead of losing her temper, she gazed at him with misty eyes. "What would you like me to do, master?" "I want a maid who's not just obedient, but also capable of carrying out my commands. Two can satisfy your every need." "That's not what I meant. I want you to do something else for me." "Master, two will build your medical center right away." Lindsay's soft and delicate voice quivered. She was all stirred up and about to lose herself completely. Kiran swore inwardly. He had never thought that this arrogant woman would behave so recklessly in front of him after being subjugated. Not only was he shocked by that, but he was also astounded that a mere silver needle had the power to conquer a woman's heart. "Master, Unable to get what she yearned for, Lindsay started to sob. "Be good for me. I know what you want," Kiran said gently. "Master." Lindsay's chestnut brown hair danced in the air, seemingly expressing her deep lovesickness. Kiran was speechless. How could he sleep with her when he could hardly embrace his own wife? Besides, why would he want to sleep with her? Nonetheless, he knew that this woman was close to losing her sanity now that her body and mind had submitted to him. "Good girl. Now go and get the medical center built." Kiran fished out a silver needle and pricked Lindsay with it. Instantly, her body felt refreshed, the burning fire in her heart finally extinguished by cold water. She was dazed for a moment before snapping to her senses and whirling on Kiran. What happened? Now that the fire in her was gone, she was so embarrassed by her outfit that she wanted to sink through the floor. Even she herself was appalled by how delirious she had become when overtaken by impulse. Kiran shrugged. "You came to my wife's office in Xander Corporation on your own?" "I should ask you the same question." "What?" With a screech, Lindsay hastily threw her coat back on. She raked her gaze over her body and moved her limbs, relieved when she did not notice any sign of abnormality. "Kiran York, you goddamn perv." "I think you've gotten it wrong, Lindsay." Kiran smirked in his seat. "You are the one who dressed like this to seduce me, and now you're calling me a perv? If I were really one, who knows what would have become of you now? You." Lindsay knew better than anyone that it had been her own choice, but the mindset she had before coming was completely different from her now, so she could not accept the situation. She wanted to curl up and die right there and then. "Woo!" she exhaled angrily. "Kiran York, you bastard!" Kiran shot her a contemptuous look. "Are you going to leave on your own, or do you want me to haul you out?" "Fuck off! I can leave on my own," Lindsay hissed. "What a weirdo," Kiran muttered. "You..." Lindsay was a heartbeat away from murdering him in a fit of rage. "Don't forget to build that medical center," Kiran said languidly. "Dream on!" Lindsay spun on her heel to leave. "Do you believe me when I say I can make you come here in 7 days, dressed up as a maid, and beg me in public?" Kiran said coolly. Lindsay flinched. She knew he was warning her, that she could only remain sound for 7 days. She was nearly mad with fury. In the end, she flipped him off and dashed out in mortification. Kiran whistled and glanced at the inner room. "Honey, your facial's ready. You can collect it now." Chapter 432. At his shout, Snow froze in bed and hurriedly replied, "I don't want it anymore." "Why not?" Kiran walked in with a puzzled frown. "Because I said so. We had a bet. If you really want it, then I'll conceive a child for you." Snow threw back the blankets. Kiran's desire was inflamed by the sight of his wife's perfect curves and tantalizing expression, but in the end, he said helplessly, "You're so cruel. Move. You think I'm cruel? How am I supposed to know who you're fantasizing about now after Lindsay tempted you like that?" "I don't want impure love," Snow said defiantly. Kiran was at a loss for words. He would be lying if he said he had not been tempted by a woman as beautiful as Lindsay. However, the temptation was not enough to make him lose control. "Forget it, then. But I've proven one thing, that's for sure." He grinned. "Are you talking about the medical center's construction?" He nodded. "We don't have to worry about that anymore. I'm sure Lindsay will handle it very well." Snow agreed with him. She shot him a look and could not help quipping, "Only you would come up with an idea like that." "Don't say it like that. I'm still a kind person and I wasn't really going to threaten her. She's the one who came to me first." "Oh, she came to you first, huh?" Snow glared at him. "It's a good thing you can't have sex and also a good thing our relationship has improved. Otherwise, I'd be worried that you'd use your unscrupulous methods on me, too." You're wronging a good man here," Kiran exclaimed petulantly. "What should we do next?" Snow changed the subject. "The construction won't get done so soon anyway, so how about we visit Nimbus Hollows this weekend?" His suggestion reminded Snow that he had initially dropped by to ask about her plans for the weekend. As for Lindsay's visit, it was just an episode. It was a rare opportunity to relax with Kiran. "Then, let's just leave for Nimbus Hollows now." Kiran nodded readily. "Good idea. We can go for a drive on the highway in the evening. After that, we can grab a late-night snack, then find a hotel and spend some quality time together." "Fuffed." Snow burst out laughing. "We're together every day, but we've never really gotten quality time." "Looks like my wife's aching for some action," Kiran said a little apologetically. "Screw you." Snow rolled her eyes at him, a blush creeping over her cheeks. "I just want to give you a child." The thought of having a child gave rise to a wave of mixed emotions in Kiran. He raised his hand and gently stroked her hair. "I promise it will happen." Snow clung to his waist and buried her face in his chest, her eyes shining with bliss and hope. Kiran's heart soared with resolve. He vowed to make his wife happy. He was going to undo the dual female love spell, no matter what. After packing lightly, they set off for Nimbus Hollows, the provincial capital. As soon as they exited the building, a vehicle followed them stealthily. Kiran was aware they were being followed, but he pretended not to notice as he zoomed onto the highway. At first, their pursuers were able to keep up, but they eventually lost sight of their target. They had no choice but to report the matter to Simon. Simon was in Nimbus Hollows at the moment. His organization had received instructions to go to Bayville and work with the three big families to crush Kiran. He was supposed to take the trip a few days ago, but he had sent someone else in his stead. He was currently in Cloud 9 Hotel, indulging in female company. When the phone call came from his subordinate in Bayville, he pushed the masseuse away and answered the phone loudly. "What?" "Boss, we saw Kiran York heading to Nimbus Hollows from Bayville." "Kiran York's coming to Nimbus Hollows?" Simon was startled. "We think so. Is it true or not?" Simon demanded, infuriated by the uncertainty of the answer. He was driving too fast. "We couldn't keep up at all. Useless scum." Grumbling, Simon hung up and immediately arranged for someone to investigate. Soon he received confirmation that Kiran was on his way to Nimbus Hollows. An icy, savage smile spread across his face at the news. "Kiran, you're just digging your grave at this point. Why are you coming to Nimbus Hollows instead of staying put in Bayville? Do you have a death wish?" Nevertheless, he did not take immediate action. After pondering for a moment, he went to see Maxwell. The Imperial Dragon operated Cloud 9. All the organization's members would stay there when they visited Nimbus Hollows. At that moment, Maxwell was meditating in his room. Although he had survived his previous trip to Bayville, his black magic attack had been ineffective, and Kiran had utterly humiliated him by subduing him with a single silver needle. Therefore, after returning, he poured his efforts into training, hoping to improve himself rapidly and gain the power to kill Kiran. At the sound of footsteps, he slowly opened his eyes. Before Simon could enter, he asked in a deep voice, "What's the matter?" "Mr. Maxwell, I heard Kiran York is on his way to Nimbus Hollows," Simon informed outside the door. "For what?" asked Maxwell. "I'm afraid I don't know yet. Tell me when you find out." "Yes, sir." Despite Simon's slight regret, he complied. "Hold on." Just then, Maxwell called out. "Yes, Mr. Maxwell?" Simon replied deferentially. "Get two clueless people and frame Kiran as a murderer," Maxwell said sinisterly. Simon sneered to himself. It looked like Maxwell was scared of Kiran too, or he wouldn't have used such a tactic. He nodded without objecting. "Rest assured, Mr. Maxwell, I'll see to it right away." Maxwell said no more. Simon did not go in to see him either. After leaving, he began to make arrangements right away. Meanwhile, Kiran's car was about to exit the highway. He took out his phone and dialed Lillian's number. It was already 10 at night, and Lillian answered the call with a sullen voice. "Why are you calling me at this hour?" "Murder," he answered bluntly. Next to him, Snow stared at him in shock. "You're nuts!" Lillian made to hang up. "I'm in Nimbus Hollows now. Tell me where the Imperial Dragon's camp is," said Kiran. "Are you crazy?" Lillian exclaimed in alarm. "I am going crazy." The thought that he could neither sleep with his beautiful wife nor avenge his family made him thirst for blood. "Chapter. You're going there alone?" Lillian asked in a low voice, furrowing her brow. "I'm with Snow. Have you lost your mind? You're bringing her to your massacre?" Lillian raised her voice. "Put me on speaker." "I'm already using the hands-free Bluetooth function." Kiran was perfectly composed. "Snow, why didn't you stop him?" Lillian scolded. Snow was both distressed and shaken. "I didn't know he was planning to kill. I only found out when he called you." "Damn it, Kiran York. Do you love Snow or not?" Lillian raised her voice, attempting to use Snow's name to convince him. "Lillian, I know what you're thinking, but if you don't let me kill someone today, I'll die of rage." Kiran was surprisingly calm. "You... Since I can't be an actual man, how am I supposed to live if you won't let me kill?" "You're a psycho," Lillian snapped. "Fine, I'm a psycho. Is that enough?" "Snow, you must stop Kiran. Besides, he said he won't actively seek revenge." Lillian decided to place her hope in Snow. "How am I supposed to persuade him?" Snow cast a pleading look at Kiran, fervently wishing he would calm down. "I said I won't initiate violence, but if the Imperial Dragon disturbs me while I'm touring Nimbus Hollows with my wife, can't I retaliate?" Kiran asked Lillian. Lillian knew very well at this moment that he was determined to kill, and he was using this couple's trip as an excuse for him to do so. She was irritated, but she reluctantly suppressed her anger and asked, "Kiran, how many people do you want to kill?" "I want to kill everyone in the Imperial Dragon except you." "You." For some reason, the quality of her clothes today felt poor. "If you weren't my sister, I'll kill you too," Kiran added in a low and grave voice. "You're nuts." Lillian grabbed a fistful of her hair in exasperation. "I'm heading into Nimbus Hollows really soon. If you still won't talk, I'm going to hang up." Kiran stopped threatening her, but she knew that was a bigger threat in itself. It meant he was not going to change his mind. "Woo," she exhaled. "He's at Cloud 9 Hotel." "Thank you." With that, Kiran hung up. The beeping of the busy signal echoed in Lillian's ear. After hesitating briefly, she hurried downstairs and set out for Nimbus Hollows at full speed. However, she did not inform Simon, whom she knew was Kiran's target. After all, if the Golden Dragon had not saved Kiran's life, Simon would have killed him. It was already remarkable that Kiran had managed to rein in his hatred for several days. Now, the only thing she hoped was that he could refrain from going batshit crazy and maintain some sliver of rationality. Meanwhile, Kiran's expression was nothing but relaxed. He was just putting pressure on Lillian just now. It was true that he intended to kill Simon. That man was worthless trash, but he was cunning. The cruelty he exhibited when he dispatched the Golden Dragon with a gun showed that he would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. Kiran decided he needed to eradicate evil people like him. Noticing that the tension in his face had eased a little, Snow asked in confusion, "Honey, are you okay?" Kiran took her hand, gazing at her pale, lovely face with a smile. "I'm fine. I was just putting pressure on Lillian." "Didn't you say you wanted to kill?" Snow was concerned. "We're going to Cloud 9 Hotel. If they don't bother us, we won't kill anyone, but if they do, I can't guarantee what will happen." Are you really going to kill them?" Snow asked nervously. "Snow, you and I are the only actual ones left in the York family, you know." Kiran's tone suddenly grew somber. Snow nodded. "So, Simon West is a cruel person. Someone like him needs to be eliminated," said Kiran adamantly. Snow knew he was acting aggressively for her safety, and it filled her with happiness. "How did you know he's in Nimbus Hollows?" Kiran shook his head. "I didn't, but I do know that Panthergate is targeting me now. If I stirred up chaos in Nimbus Hollows, even if Simon wasn't there, he'd still come to me for revenge, which would allow me to find him and kill him." "What if you get captured?" Snow asked tentatively. Kiran snickered. "The Imperial Dragon's more worried about all this than I am." "How so?" Snow was puzzled. "I can now confirm that the Imperial Dragon and Power Hub are two distinct forces, not allies. Power Hub has taken control of Dragon's Mount, and the Imperial Dragon has not acted to reclaim it. However, this does not mean they have no interest in it. After a pause, he continued, "In this case, they'll definitely use some other way to get it, which means there will be conflict between them and Power Hub. But what does this have to do with whether or not you'll get captured?" Snow was still mystified. If Power Hub acquired Dragon's Mount instead of the Imperial Dragon, that means the former is backed by someone powerful, but the latter is not. So, if the latter tries to capture me with the help of that powerful someone, Power Hub will definitely seize the opportunity to take action against them and reap the benefits. So, you want them to fight each other while you reap the benefits? Kiran shook his head. That's what they'll see on the surface. Then what do you want? Snow wanted to know. The Ludwig family, that's what? Snow shook her head. I still don't get what you mean. Kiran sighed. Part of the love spell placed on me is tied to Yvonne. She's the second daughter of the Ludwig family. Under such circumstances, I can't kill the Ludwig family since my life is in Yvonne's hands. Snow turned white with apprehension. Why else did you think I chose to give up Dragon's Mount? Kiran's lip curled. Now, all I can do is maintain a relationship with Yvonne and find a solution. At the same time, I need to control Lindsay and make her surrender to me. I know it's despicable of me to manipulate them, but I have to do this to ensure my safety. Snow was baffled to hear him say that because his face was contorted with fury and guilt. Kiran squeezed his eyes shut. I'm a scumbag for being so close with the enemy's daughters. A pang shot through Snow's heart. Don't be so hard on yourself. One can only achieve great things with ambition and sacrifice. Kiran gritted his teeth and nodded. You're the only one I love, Snow. Snow gripped his hand. I know. Chapter 434. It was not easy for a man to stay upright and unwavering. In the face of a vendetta shrouded in mystery, it was not easy for Kiran to remain clear-headed and faithful to his beloved. If so many beautiful women surrounded an ordinary man, he would probably have fallen to temptation. Therefore, it was incredible that Kiran was able to stay true to his heart. Snow's heart filled with joy as she looked at Kiran with love. She was ready to wait for him, even if it took her whole life, simply because her love for him was that deep. Screech! Suddenly, Kiran slammed on the brakes and pulled over onto the road shoulder. Ah! Snow screamed. Her body lurched forward due to the inertia, but Kiran stopped her from hitting the windshield. What's wrong? I get it now, Kiran exclaimed gleefully. Snow was dumbfounded. Get what? The purpose of this entire plot. Kiran's grin broadened. What do you mean? Snow was utterly bewildered. Hold on. Let me call Lillian, and the three of us can figure it out together. Bursting with eagerness, Kiran located Lillian's number and dialed it again. Are you there already? The phone only rang once before she picked up. Kiran heard the roar of the engine. Are you heading to Nimbus Hollows too? Duh, Lillian snorted. Slow down. I need to verify something with you, Kiran quickly said. What is it? Just tell me. Lillian did not slow down. I think we're caught in a honey trap. Honey trap? Perplexed, Lillian slowed her car slightly. Tell me more. Let's talk about my mother's plan first. Kiran paused. She hoped the two of us could be together. That's why she gave you those threads of fate, cast a love spell on you, and left instructions for us to practice the joyful odyssey together, right? Lillian's memories surfaced in her mind at his words. That's right. She was worried others would deceive us in the future. She hoped the two of us could stay together forever in love and unity so that we could avoid being set up, Kiran continued. Knowing the idea of a relationship between them was impossible, Lillian said irritably. No point talking about that anymore? Let's move on. Someone must have discovered or seen through her plan, and that's why they set up a honey trap. Who's the honey in the honey trap? Snow? Yvonne? Her? Lillian was incredulous. She's beautiful, but if Snow and I can make your heart flutter, how is her trap going to work? Kiran secretly commended her level-headedness. That's where her sickness and fragility come in. You're into that? Lillian remarked coldly. Men are all perverts anyway. Kiran was not in the mood to discuss that, so he continued. I suspect that my mom didn't even know the enemy had secretly created the dual female love spell. She didn't? Lillian was shocked. At least not in the beginning, or she wouldn't have cast the love spell on us. It's likely she only found out 15 years ago. Why 15 years ago? Because that was when she asked the Xander family to break off the engagement, because she didn't want to ruin Snow's lifelong happiness. Lillian fell silent. Tears streamed down Snow's cheeks. Let's put that aside and move on to the main question. What do you mean by honey trap? Lillian swiftly recovered her composure. That's easy. The Ludwig family is being used. Being used? Lillian and Snow exclaimed. Yes. The enemy abducted the Ludwig family's second daughter, replaced her with Yvonne, and cast a love spell on her. In fact, I suspect it was a fate spell. In this way, our lives are in Yvonne's hands, which means our lives are in the enemy's hands. Lillian fell into a brooding silence. Who is this enemy? Snow asked. Kiran shook his head. I don't know either, but I know they're much more powerful than the Imperial Dragon and Power Hub, and they're aiming for some really grand goal. Otherwise, they wouldn't have kept us alive, or maybe they see value in us. Value? Lillian was bemused. There's definitely some kind of secret hidden under Dragon's Mount that everyone wants to get their hands on, but the enemy doesn't know how to access it. I suspect the method lies with me, so they set up this trap around me. Kiran's tone was solemn. So, what should we do? Lillian and Snow asked in unison. I think my master knows a lot about this plot. He probably knows how to overcome it. In fact, I think I know how to overcome it too. Kiran frowned thoughtfully. How do you mean? Lillian wanted to know. I need to stay true to my heart, answered Kiran. Stay true to your heart, Lillian repeated in confusion. That's right. He foresaw that I am a person who values love and friendship. He knew that once I met Snow and fell in love, that love would last forever. That's why he got us engaged. In that way, I'll stay faithful to her and won't be too distracted by you and Yvonne because of the love spell. Ultimately, this honey trap will fail. Both Lillian and Snow gasped with surprise and deliberation in their eyes. Isn't that unfair to Snow? Lillian's eyes flashed with self-pity. I don't know about the future, but at the moment, yes. If it's like what you said, wouldn't it mean that by the time your mother found out, your master had already carried out his plan? Lillian speculated. Technically, yes. She fell silent, and her car slowed to a crawl. Now that we've figured things out, do you know what the best thing about this situation is? Kiran asked evenly. What? I'm free to kill the Imperial Dragon and Power Hub as I wish. He snickered. You want to lure out the enemy behind them? Snow's eyes shone curiously. Kiran shook his head. Those people will show themselves sooner or later. I'm doing this to assure my own safety. Won't that be too risky? By now, Lillian had understood his intentions. They can't kill you, and there's no point for them to attack Yvonne either. As long as both of you are alive, I'll be safe, and I don't have to worry about killing anyone. I guess it's worth a try. Yvonne had come around to his point of view. You support me. Kiran was delighted. You firmly believe there's no making without breaking, don't you? What else can I do besides support you? Lillian said wearily. Thanks. No need to thank me. Sis. Lillian was crestfallen. In the end, Kiran had addressed her that way to maintain distance between them. I need to drive now. She hung up. She knew Kiran was telling her that Snow was the one he loved. Snow's eyes were brimming with happy tears. As for Kiran, his heart swelled with infinite triumph. I can finally seek revenge. He floored the gas pedal and sped toward Cloud9 Hotel. Chapter 435. Two young men had just come out of Cloudscape Inn. Having just finished a good meal, they were ready for new evening pleasure. Women. Simon was carrying out Maxwell's request. When he saw the two staggering, he immediately picked them as his target. He purposely passed by them and dropped the stunning photo of Snow with a sports car. The two young men were playboys by nature, and all they did each day was indulge in food and pleasure. Their pursuit of women had surpassed all other endeavors. When one saw the photo, it immediately caught his attention, and his mouth started to water. Mr. Hayden, look. When Hayden heard his partner stammering in shock, his curiosity was piqued. He looked down and saw the picture of Snow. Her almond-shaped eyes, peachy cheeks, arched brows, oval face, and white teeth made her look stunning. Her beauty was incomparable to the plastic beauties he had seen before. Hayden seemed to have sobered up from the alcohol, and he looked at his partner. Sonny, where's this woman? I don't know. Sonny Pantel looked at the photo and shook his head regretfully. Next, he blinked at Hayden. Since we found the photo here, let's look around here. Hayden agreed to his idea, so he nodded and went to the front desk. He shouted snobbishly and beckoned the receptionist. Come here. Although Cloudscape Inn's main job was to protect those from Imperial Dragon, they were still open to the public. Thus, Hayden and Sonny were no strangers to the receptionist, as they often came here to dine. Knowing that they were both from influential families, the receptionist immediately ran over when they called. The female receptionist that Imperial Dragon had chosen was on the same level as flight attendants. The female receptionist was in uniform. She wore a form-fitting black skirt that covered only half of her thighs, accentuating her tall figure. The badge on the collar of her shirt made her look very professional. Under normal circumstances, Hayden and Sonny would undoubtedly hit on her and make a move. However, after seeing Snow's picture, the receptionist in front of them looked like a pile of weeds. They were no longer interested in her, nor did they even want to look at her. Hayden opened his big mouth and pointed to the photo of Snow on the ground. Who is this woman? Find her right now. I'm going to sleep with her. The receptionist was shocked by Hayden's overbearing attitude. She quickly looked at Snow's beautiful face and her voluptuous figure in the photo. She instantly felt like a firefly compared to her. Even women could not help but be amazed at her beauty. Unfortunately, the receptionist did not recognize her, so she shook her head quickly and said, "I don't know her." "Go find out then." Sonny was impatient. "Mr. Hayden, Mr. Sonny, there aren't any records of this woman staying here, so I can't find out about her," the receptionist explained confusedly. "Can't find out about her." Hayden looked enraged. He went up to slap her. "You can't even handle such a small task. Do you have a death wish?" "Ah." The receptionist screamed and covered her face, looking at Hayden in horror. Hayden did not care at all. He even wanted to hit her again. Then, a member of Panthergate disguised as a hotel guest walked out. He pretended to stumble upon the photo and picked it up. "Put that down. Who let you pick that up?" Sonny glared at him as if he had taken Snow away from them. "This is the picture I dropped earlier," the man from Panthergate said, faking his nervousness. "It's yours?" Hayden asked excitedly. "Yeah!" "Who is she?" Sonny asked eagerly. "She's Snow Xander, the chairman of Bayville Xander Corporation. Do you know her?" the man from Panthergate asked. Sonny wanted to say no, but Hayden quickly interrupted. "We're friends." The man from Panthergate sneered as he knew that they were lying, but he feigned ignorance and whispered, "I heard that Ms. Snow just came to Nimbus Hollows. She must be arriving soon. My master has had a crush on her for so long, so I'm going to tell him right now." "Is she here?" Hayden beamed. "She's here," the Panthergate member replied. "All right," Hayden waved him off. The man from Panthergate walked away happily after completing his mission. Now that he had found two little insects that Kiran could easily crush to death, they were going to turn Kiran into a criminal. Sonny looked at Hayden and asked, "Mr. Hayden, what should we do?" He said, "She's here in Nimbus Hollows. In that case, we should show her the hospitality of our people." When Sonny heard that, he immediately smiled, knowing that they were going to get that woman. Then Hayden made a call. "I need you to find someone for me. The woman is called Snow Xander and her car plate is." He looked at the photo of Snow standing next to a car. After that, he hung up and said confidently, "We'll wait in the car." Sonny followed him out and sat in the car, waiting for them to call back. Little did they know that the people of Panthergate were using them. They planned to anger Kiran and bait him to kill them for messing with Snow. The two waited while their people detected Kiran getting off the highway and entering the city. They continued tracking him, but it was going to take time. After waiting for a while, Sonny and Hayden were so drunk that they fell asleep. Kiran and Snow arrived at Cloudscape Inn 20 minutes later, unaware that Sonny and Hayden were waiting. Kiran brought Snow to the front desk and booked a room. When the receptionist saw Snow, she looked like she had seen a ghost. Firstly, she was shocked that she would show up there before those two young men even found her. Secondly, she was shocked that she looked even more beautiful in person. She had a small face, arched eyebrows, twinkling eyes, a pretty nose, fair skin, and cherry-colored lips. She exuded a strong femininity in her blue sleeveless dress. Her curvy figure was elegant, and her beauty was unparalleled. She was basically an angel that had descended to earth. No wonder those two pigs were so captivated by her. Kiran sensed the woman's feelings, so he raised his eyebrows and asked, "Is something wrong? Miss, are you Snow Xander?" The receptionist looked at Snow with flushed cheeks as she asked with anticipation. Snow was confused as to how she knew her, but she nodded. "That's me." "Snow is here," the receptionist suddenly shouted as if she had won the lottery. Chapter 436. Snow was stunned and she quickly looked at Kiran. Kiran was stunned too. If Lillian had told the people of Imperial Dragon that he was coming, that would make sense, but why were they more interested in Snow than him? Hayden and Sonny were having wild and nasty dreams of Snow in the car outside. When they heard Snow is here, they immediately opened the car door and ran as fast as the wind. Kiran was confused. Those heavy footsteps belonged to ordinary people. When he turned around, he saw two drunken men swaying, which made him even more puzzled. Sonny and Hayden finally saw Snow in real life. She was over 170 centimeters tall and in a sleeveless blue dress with blue strappy high heels. Their hearts started pounding, and all sorts of wild thoughts flooded their minds. Snow felt sick to her stomach when she saw their gazes, so she instinctively leaned on Kiran. Kiran immediately moved her behind him. Sonny and Hayden were immediately annoyed that he was blocking her, so Hayden opened his big mouth. "Move aside, kid. I'm going to fuck Snow today." "So am I," Sonny blinked with a lustful look on his face. Snow was livid, but she did not say a word. Instead, she pressed against Kiran's back, worried that he would get angry and do something to them. Kiran looked at the two men walking over, and his first thought was how idiotic they were. How else would such nasty words come out of their mouths? In the next second, he calmed down. He did not know them, and they did not know Snow. Why would they want to sleep with her the moment they saw her? Was something fishy going on? He looked at Hayden and asked, while suppressing his anger, "How do you know Snow?" When Hayden saw Kiran speaking to him politely, he thought that he was scared. So he smirked and said smugly, "It's none of your business how I know Snow. Get out of here so we can have our fun with her." Sonny looked at Kiran and warned him, "Kid, stop wasting time. You'll be sorry for upsetting us." Snow hugged Kiran tighter, scared that Kiran would get angry. He did come here to kill the people of Imperial Dragon, after all. These men were just the sacrificial lambs. Kiran did not make a move right away, and he remained calm. "Have you seen Snow before?" "We've seen a picture of her," Sonny said. "Picture?" "Yeah, someone walked by and dropped a photo of Snow. We saw it and fell in love at first sight," Sonny said matter-of-factly. "Picture? Someone walked by?" Kiran immediately knew what was going on after hearing these clues. He was even more relaxed now, so he smiled at them. "In that case, why don't you call that person over so I can meet him?" "Why do you want to meet him?" Hayden asked. "Stop wasting time. I want to get into bed with Snow now. Otherwise, I'll fuck her right here," Sonny said bestially. "Kiran, don't be impulsive," Snow reminded him and hugged him even tighter. Her voice was not high-pitched, but she sounded sweet and affectionate toward Kiran. It immediately filled Hayden and Sonny with excitement and frustration. Their anger started surging, thinking that Kiran and Snow were complete idiots. "We're going to be the impulsive ones soon." Sonny pointed at Kiran and said, "Little kid, I don't want to waste any more time. I will sleep with that woman now. I can't wait any longer." Hayden was equally as arrogant. "Yeah, we want to sleep with her right here, right now." Snow was incredibly frustrated, but she dared get angry because she did not want Kiran to kill both of them out of anger. On the contrary, Kiran was calm. He could already tell that they were worthless playboys who only cared about sex. When he thought about the photo, his interest was piqued. He rolled his eyes and said, "Bring it on then." After saying that, he stepped aside and let Snow face the two men. "Hey, beautiful. Hey, gorgeous." When the two of them saw her, they shouted with joy as they ran over with open arms. Snow was petrified when she saw those two pigs. What was Kiran doing? Little did she know, Kiran had already shot 2 waves of energy into the two men. Snow wanted to move, but she realized that she was paralyzed. "Honey, save me." Kiran smiled without moving. Snow closed her eyes out of fear, and her heart was filled with despair, as well as resentment toward Kiran. In the next second, Snow was stupefied. Sonny and Hayden passed by her and ran toward the front desk. Snow soon heard screams coming from the front desk, and she got chills down her spine. Kiran walked over to her and hugged her gently. He stroked her back with his hands, and she could move freely again. "Honey, what's—" "They're hallucinating right now. Just enjoy the show." Snow was shocked. She wanted to turn and see what was happening, but the men were spitting nasty words and shouting her name. The receptionist was screaming too. Snow was so disgusted that she leaned into Kiran's arms. Kiran gently tapped Snow's ear to deafen her. Suddenly, she could not hear anything. She could only see. Kiran smiled and pulled her toward the sofa. There were sounds of footsteps coming from upstairs, and then they saw dozens of people from Panthergate rushing down with fierce looks on their faces. When Kiran saw them, a cold smile appeared on his lips. It really was Imperial Dragon's home. He raised his eyebrows. He had a good idea. His eyes fell upon Hayden and Sonny, thinking he could use them as a pawn. "Where did these animals come from? Kick them out," the person who led the men from Panthergate shouted. Suddenly, everyone rushed over and started beating the two animals up. "Ouch. It hurts. How dare you hit me?" Sonny and Hayden screamed and cursed. "If you keep whining, I'll kill you," the Panthergate men roared angrily. Sonny and Hayden were just about to speak when suddenly they felt their bodies tense up as if they had gained a newfound strength. Kiran put his hands down and smirked. Then he took his phone out and started recording. Chapter 437. Boom! Sonny punched away the Panthergate member who had grabbed his arm. The man flew toward the wall like a ball. He fell to the ground, kicked his legs twice, and died. The other people from Panthergate were stupefied. They underestimated the two madmen. They did not think they would be that strong and could kill people like that. When Hayden saw Sonny kill someone with a single punch, the excitement of the alcohol and the hallucinations made him impulsive too. He saw a stunned Panthergate member beside him, lifted his foot, and kicked the man's abdomen. Crack, crack. Instantly, there were sounds of bones cracking in his lower body as if he were hit by a high-speed train. He flew out and fell to the ground, twitching. Blood spilled from every opening on his face, and he died. "Shit! You're going to die! Kill them!" When the rest of the Panthergate members saw their men beaten to death by two good-for-nothing young men, They furiously rushed at them like madmen. Sonny and Hayden felt like they were invincible heroes in those action novels, being able to kill someone in one go. The thought of performing such a heroic act before the woman they had their eyes on, Snow, instantly made them fiery and fearless, so they charged forward. Bang, boom, ouch. There were furious sounds of fighting. The Panthergate men were not weak, but in the face of these two they were being crushed. Some were knocked down with a single kick or punch. Sick. Horrifying. Snow sat on the sofa, but she felt as if she was sitting on thorns. Her pretty face turned pale with fright, not knowing how Kiran turned them into madmen. Kiran saw that Snow was nervous and scared, so he lifted her onto his lap and wrapped his arms around her waist, hugging her from behind while they watched. The scene became very intense and bloody. When the receptionist came to her senses, she got up and ran upstairs while half undressed. However, she was in so much fear that she fell several times. She even crawled on the ground crying, "Murder, help! Snow, don't you run!" When Sonny saw the receptionist trying to escape, he angrily chased after her. "Snow, I'm going to fuck you!" Hayden shouted with his big mouth. Under the hallucination, the receptionist looked like Snow to them. The receptionist was scared to death. Now, she actually looked like she had seen a ghost. Even the remaining men of Panthergate felt as if they were watching a couple of idiots. They were humiliated after being attacked by those two, so they chased to kill them, but they were again easily defeated. When the rest of Panthergate heard the shouts and screams, they immediately ran down. They were shocked and angry to see the bloody scene before them, so they rushed over to kill Sonny and Hayden. However, they soon realized that their opponents were not easy targets. The killings became even more intense and exciting. Snow was scared, but she could feel that Kiran was burning with a desire to kill. Snow knew he was engulfed by flames of hatred and was almost going to boil over at any time because of his family vendetta and his inability to be with her. When Simon heard the noise, he came down just in time to see Sonny and Hayden snap the neck of one of his men. "Fuck you!" Simon felt like his lungs were going to burst as he cursed. He ran over and punched Hayden in the arm. Crack! Hayden's arm was broken into two. However, apart from a split-second pause, Hayden seemed insensitive to the pain. He tossed the Panthergate man and swung his broken arm at Simon. This was beyond Simon's imagination, and he was even more frightened now. He did not expect him to be a killing machine. Sonny was attacking too. Facing the both of them, Simon was at a loss. Although he was not that skilled in martial arts, he was still stronger than his men. However, he quickly realized he could not defeat them and that he would be putting himself in harm's way. He could not afford to take that risk, so he slowly retreated while defending himself. The two immediately saw Simon as their main target, so they attacked him frantically, wanting him dead. Simon felt cornered, so he turned and ran. Suddenly, the towering Maxwell appeared in front of him. "Mr. Maxwell, save me," Simon shouted. Maxwell was shocked to see the bloodshed, especially after he saw the two men being mind-controlled. "What's happening?" "I don't know where these lunatics came from. They're killing people left and right, and they seem to have no sense of pain at all," Simon said while dodging their attacks. "Huh?" Maxwell was confused. Sonny and Hayden were already making their way toward him. "Trash!" Maxwell shouted and shot poison out of his hands. Sonny and Hayden did not notice the poison at all, and they continued attacking like madmen. Maxwell thought that they would die from the poison instantly, but they seemed unaffected by the poison. Bam, bam. Fortunately, Maxwell's quick reflexes enabled him to punch Sonny and Hayden in their chest. They flew away and fell to the ground. Thud! Black blood spurted out from their mouths, and they twitched a few times before their head turned sideways and died. The remaining men of Panthergate were relieved. Maxwell and Simon looked at the dozens of corpses on the ground in anger. Just as they were about to speak, they felt Kiran's gaze. His handsome face, calm smile, and the joy on his face from embracing his beloved wife. He was like every woman's Prince Charming. However, he brought fear to both of them. Maxwell and Simon were stunned as they looked at the dead bodies on the ground. Maxwell was reminded of his plan, and he looked at Simon. Simon understood he had failed to trick Kiran and was furious he got tricked by Kiran instead. "Honey, get down!" Kiran gently patted Snow's long, slender, and bouncy legs. "Ah!" Snow exclaimed as if she had been woken up from a dream. She had already been moved to the sofa. Kiran kissed her forehead affectionately and stood up. "Kiran, what are you doing?" Simon asked warily. "You're scared." Kiran laughed at Simon. "I'm not," Simon shouted, unwilling to give in. "You're not? Bring it on then," Kiran jeered. Chapter 438. "Not afraid? Bring it on then." Kiran's tone was relaxed but strongly provocative. More importantly, he sounded like he wanted to kill. "Kiran, do you think we're afraid of you?" Simon shouted. unwilling to show any sign of weakness. Kiran smiled and shook his head. You won't be afraid of me. Of course. If not for that damn snake that day on Dragon's Mount, you would have been dead by now, and your wife would be raped by God knows who. Simon provoked him loudly to boost his own morale. Kiran raised his eyebrows. The urge to kill surged in his eyes, but he controlled it and said calmly, Come and kill me then! Kill you? That'll be too easy. We're just sparing you because you said you wouldn't take the initiative that day. Simon used a high-sounding reason to hide his nervousness and fear. Spare me? Kiran scoffed in disbelief. Of course. You'd better run off with your tail between your legs and be happy that I'm sparing your life, Simon said as if he was his savior. Will you spare me? Kiran asked Maxwell with a smile. Maxwell now realized that Hayden and Sunny were Kiran's puppets. That was not the scary part. The scariest part was how they were able to kill the people of Panthergate. The thought of Kiran not being afraid of his black magic made Maxwell scared. However, as a master and Imperial Dragon, he could not lose face, so he insisted, Kiran, since you said you wouldn't be avenging your family, I'll spare you too. Run off. Maxwell faked a proud, heroic look. Simon felt more at peace now. He wanted nothing more than for Kiran to get out of there. Kiran did not budge. He looked at them both and smirked mockingly. You guys are so funny. What do you mean? They asked in panic. It's my choice whether to spare you now, okay? Kiran walked over at the same time. Stop him! Simon hurriedly shouted to his men. Stop there! Men from Panthergate rushed over to stop him. Slap! Kiran lifted his hand and casually slapped a man. Ah! The man from Panthergate screamed. However, the sound did not come from his mouth but from his throat because Kiran had blown his head off. Gasp! The other men were terrified. Right after that, blood rained from above as if it were falling from the sky. The severed head fell straight to the ground, spurting blood everywhere. He blew his head off and killed him with a single move. The men of Panthergate were like weaklings. The bloody scene made them feel completely hopeless. Kiran, do you still want to kill people from Imperial Dragon? Simon was frightened and embarrassed. Kiran did not answer. Instead, he looked at Maxwell. I can spare your life today and let you get the fuck out of here. Mr. Maxwell, Simon shouted. Maxwell's expression kept changing. He looked at Kiran, trying to understand why he was letting him go and whether he was playing a trick on him. Don't you want to live? Kiran sneered and lifted his hand again. Boom! The body of a man from Panthergate flew away like a meteor hitting the wall. He could not even react before he was killed on the spot. Gasp! Everyone inhaled sharply, tension and fear in their eyes. The feeling of impending death was looming. Kiran, you're too cruel! Simon found it difficult to speak from the fear. Cruel? Kiran sneered and turned around suddenly. Bang, bang, bang! Another dozen Panthergate men flew away, dying on the spot. Kiran stood there, looking at Simon coldly. You can't even spare the life of a snake. What gives you the right to call me cruel? Kiran, you? Simon felt like his life was a candle in the wind, constantly swaying and seemingly going to be extinguished at any second. I want to live. Feeling pressured by death, Maxwell gave in and begged him for mercy. Mr. Maxwell! Simon was anxious, angry, and fearful. Kiran looked at Maxwell. I don't want to see Panthergate in Bayville anymore. Maxwell's face changed and he nodded. I understand. I want them all dead. Kiran raised his voice. Maxwell was shocked. He thought that he could leave quietly. Maxwell, did you hear what Kiran said? Simon was furious when he heard he was going to kill his people. As if he did not hear Simon's scolding, he said firmly, I'll kill them all. Get out, Kiran shouted bossily. Maxwell shivered with fright and ran out, not daring to stay another second. Simon looked at his back with a burning gaze and he cursed, Maxwell, you're an Imperial Dragon Master. Why are you running away like a dog? You sick bastard! Why are there such scums like you in Panthergate? Simon cursed angrily, but Maxwell ran even faster, determined to kill Panthergate. Kiran smirked. Panthergate was fucking stupid. He was only going to ask Maxwell to kill the Panthergate men who were in Bayville, but it seemed like he took it upon himself to kill them all. Since Maxwell could not return to Imperial Dragon now, Panthergate would not have the chance to get revenge on him. He was going to destroy them all. Simon's angry cursing helped him make this possible without needing to take action on his own. Simon saw that Maxwell had escaped. Now that Simon and a dozen men were the only ones left, they were scared out of their wits. Are you ready to die? Kiran glared at the shivering Simon and asked jokingly, Kiran, can you spare me? Simon gulped and continued, If you spare me, I'll do anything for you. Everyone else in Panthergate looked at him with pleading faces. Kiran sneered and shook his head. Simon was desperate. Kiran, do you really want to fight to the death? To the death. Kiran swept his eyes across the men of Panthergate and mocked. You and what army? You. Simon was speechless. Kiran looked at the remaining Panthergate men and said, "If you want to die, let's get it over with." The men of Panthergate were frightened. They started retreating one after another, looking at Simon. "You're going too far." Simon looked at Kiran and accused him angrily, hoping that Kiran would back down. Slap. Kiran appeared in front of Simon like a ghost and slapped him. "Who are you to say so? Tui!" Simon spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked at Kiran angrily, but he dared not to speak. Kiran glanced at the men of Panthergate and said, "All of you must die." Chapter 439. All of you must die. Such dominance. Such cruelty. Everyone in Panthergate was shocked and scared. Kiran. Simon no longer sounded as proud as he was before. "You deserve to die the most." As soon as he said that, he lifted his hands. Crack! With a crisp sound, Simon's right arm broke. "Ow!" Simon let out a shrill scream. His face twisted in horror as he looked at Kiran. Kiran looked indifferent and said with a murderous tone, "You shot the golden dragon 6 times, so I'll give you the same in return." Crack! There was another sound of bones breaking, and Simon's left arm broke. "Kiran, you're going too far." Simon was dripping cold sweat from his forehead as he yelled at the top of his lungs. "There's more." Boom! Kiran kicked him on the left leg, and with another snap, his left leg was broken. Thump! Simon fell to the ground. He wanted to fall unconscious and not be aware of the pain, but little did he know that falling would make him even more awake. Ah! Simon rolled on the ground, screaming, "It's time for your right leg!" Bam! As soon as Kiran said that, his foot landed and snap! Simon had lost all 4 of his limbs. Ah! Simon almost died from the pain. "Here comes the punishment for your 5th shot." Kiran's tone was still full of hatred. If anything, he sounded even more angry. His feet landed on Simon's crotch, and little Simon bid farewell to his body. Red and yellow liquid oozed out. "Ow!" Simon screamed and passed out. The remaining Panthergate men were so frightened that they kneeled on the ground, peeing and shitting in their pants. It was horrifying. Kiran was like the Grim Reaper. However, Kiran did not stop. His eyes were filled with even more fury as he was reminded of the golden dragon getting shot in the mouth. "You're all going to die!" With an angry shout, he raised his hand, and dozens of Panthergate men let out shrill cries. They contorted their bodies and fell to the ground, dead. Kiran was merciless. The crippled Simon regained consciousness and saw that all his remaining men had died. His eyelids flew open, full of hatred and anger toward Kiran. However, he no longer had the power to take revenge. "Kiran, you..." Ooh. Before he could say anything else, a white light flashed and a silver needle pierced the back of his mouth. It was exactly how the bullet pierced the golden dragon. However, this time, it was his Simon dying, not the golden dragon. Simon's eyes were wide open, and blood was flowing out of them. He wanted to cover his throat, but his hands were useless. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He finally understood the pain and despair the golden dragon felt when it died. He struggled, but to no avail. Plop! His head hit the ground, and he died. He was finally dead. Simon West, the leader of Panthergate, never dreamed that Kiran would come to Nimbus Hollows and kill him so simply and brutally. Did it feel good? Hell no! His death was so unfair that it felt like a dream. Knowing that Maxwell would wipe out Panthergate entirely, Simon died with more unresolved grievances. What goes around comes around. Simon repaid with his life for killing the golden dragon. Rest in peace, golden dragon. Kiran looked up at the night sky and murmured. After the golden dragon's death, Kiran knew that showing kindness toward his enemies was the biggest fucking mistake. Therefore, he would show no mercy. Snow was dumbstruck. Her body was shaking like a leaf. She did not know why Kiran would bring her here to kill people. Did he want her to see such a bloody scene? Kiran walked over to Snow and squatted down. He held her hand and shot a burst of energy into her. Chapter 440. The warmth made her feel much better. "Kiran, this..." We're the only relatives of the York family. If we don't kill them, they'll kill us. Kiran's soft voice made Snow realize that there was no way out for the York family. "Honey!" Snow hugged him and cried loudly. Kiran picked her up and walked out. The two of them were all alone. However, Snow was fearless and unwavering. Kiran had the strength and power to conquer the world. If he was Romeo, she was willing to be his Juliet. In this lifetime, her love would know no bounds. As soon as they stepped outside, they heard the screech of brakes and saw Lillian's enchanting figure step out of the car. She was wearing a white cotton nightgown wrapped tightly around her body. It was not see-through, but they could tell that she was not wearing any underwear. That made the already beautiful Lillian look even more seductive. Kiran's heart skipped a beat. He knew that Lillian had rushed over here after receiving a call. The sound of the roaring engine through the phone made him think she had gone mad. In fact, he was not wrong. Lillian's face was full of anger, and she walked quickly to Kiran. The fast walking accentuated her curvy body, and her beautiful cherry lips parted. "Sister!" Kiran quickly shouted. In the middle of running over to him angrily, she stopped in her tracks and trembled. Her long, muscular legs braked suddenly. Her flexed muscles made her legs look extra plump and smooth. "Hello, sis!" Snow reacted quickly and called her sister after noticing that Kiran was afraid of getting beaten up. The anger that rushed to the top of Lillian's head subsided when they called her sister. The bloody smell in the air and the sight of how calm Kiran was made her want to slap him. Kiran smiled at her without saying a word, as if waiting to be punished. "Go back to Bayville immediately and practice the 5th level of the Joyful Odyssey for me by tomorrow or else." Lillian did not say anything else before she turned and walked inside. Kiran breathed a sigh of relief. Good thing the tigress was not violent. He looked at her back and shouted, "Sis, we might need to deal with the surveillance inside." Lillian did not even look back. She was even more annoyed. She felt like Kiran's mom, cleaning up after him. In a huff, she walked inside. Kiran picked Snow up excitedly, and she put her arms around his neck. "Why do I feel like I'm your mistress?" Pfft. Kiran laughed at her words. "You're my lawfully wedded wife. We have certificates. You didn't stamp it. How would I know?" Snow blushed. "Don't worry. I will never sleep with that tigress." Kiran quickly walked to the car, afraid that Lillian would hear him. He did not know whether Lillian was controlling his energy through the love spell or the threads of fate. No matter what method she used, he would never lose to a woman like Lillian. "Smooch!" Snow suddenly kissed Kiran on the face. Kiran was surprised. "Why did you kiss me?" "This is how a mistress seduces her man," Snow said while suppressing her smile. Kiran almost burst out laughing. He did not expect her humorous teasing. He was glad that Snow was no longer scared. He hugged her and put her in the car. "Let's go back." Snow thought of Lillian's plans and said to Kiran. "Okay." Kiran agreed, but he went against Lillian's orders and drove into the city. Little did he know that his car was being watched. The people who could not get hold of Hayden and Sunny sent photos of them to the group chat, and it instantly caused an uproar.